Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the European Islands towards decarbonization violence. This workshop will be conducted by RINA Consulting, by my colleague Giorgio Bonvicini and myself, Bruno Sodiro. On this workshop, we're gonna take the efforts of these 3 last years. The European islands have demonstrated to be lighthouses when talking about decarbonization and frontier actions towards maximizing the use of renewables. And today we will do a first session that will include financial schemes. The first speaker would be Cristina Barretto for NESOI, talking about the European financial schemes within the supporting of NESOI framework. And then we have Manuel Cellini, who will talk about finding islands decarbonization through community-owned energy. And we will do a quick session of Q&A. Then we will have after the coffee break, we will have section 2, moderated by Giorgio Bonvicini, where we will go through the different projects that we're presenting. We will start with GIFT project, then we will go back to NESOI again, IANOS, INSULAE, React, Robinson project, and MAESHA. And then we will have another Q&A and debate for 30 minutes. So this workshop belongs, this workshop contributes a lot to the European Green Deal, which has been one action of the European Union and had set huge targets. And with this workshop, we're gonna revise these actions towards achieving the deal, the European community. And this workshop also has projects coming from the Clean Energy for EU Islands, where these financial schemes and support are reviewed. So we're gonna go through all these aspects as well. So to start, I will invite Cristina Barretto to present the financial schemes of NESOI.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, and we are very happy to be here to introduce the European Island Facility, NESOI, which is a European project and Horizon 2020 initiatives coordinated by SINLOC and led with other relevant partners like R2M, RINA, Deloitte, ION, and many others. So today I'm going to give you an overview of the activities we have performed so far and the finance schemes we are studying and preparing in order to support the access to finance for our projects. And my colleague Luigi Laterza is going to provide you some information about some useful cases and good examples of projects in which we are working. So as said, NESOI is an Horizon 2020 initiative, and it's a CSA project It has been launched in October 19, and we are going to work for another year in order to complete our dissemination, communication activities, and more. We are going to further support technical assistance and the access to financial sources. More in detail, NESOI was created in order to support the access of energy transition projects for European islands. And the main target was to launch concrete initiatives and support the access to existing funds. We supported these projects by combining technical assistance in two main forms. One is the direct technical assistance and advisory activities provided by our consortium, and the other one is the support we gave by providing directly funds to the islands to buy local advisor services and to complement and integrate our advisory services. So each island has benefited of a total of 120,000 euros. So it was quite a great sum to launch and develop projects. As said, this covered a total amount of almost 6 million euros, which was further integrated by capacity building events, training workshops, toolkits, and more in general, the preparation of a platform which is supporting the islands and supporting our knowledge and dissemination activities. So you can find online our platform and see the materials, information, and the next events on which we are working. So, as said, we have already worked for 3 years on these initiatives, and we have already closed the 2 calls which selected our final beneficiaries. And we can say we received a very good number of applications, which were 170, and covered almost the totality of European projects. Obviously, the majority of initiatives was focused in the southern countries like Greece, Croatia, Italy, and Spain too. We then selected almost 54 initiatives, which we are now supporting with technical assistance activities in the 2 forms I described. So direct consulting services and local support. Our projects are focused in several technologies, which are obviously renewable energies, energy efficiency, in many cases mobility, and in some other cases we are going on cross-sector projects like the planning activities, and a great focus was given on the preparation and launch of energy communities. So we have prepared and worked on several energy communities initiatives in Europe. Our colleague Giorgio is going to give you later a greater overview of the technologies on which we are working and on which we are supporting the islands in accessing to finance and launching the projects. As we are going to say also later, it's not easy to find some common traits of the projects. So we received many applications which had different financial needs, different needs in terms of technical assistance, and different structures, also in terms of sources to be selected. Here we tried to give an overview of the typical investment size we saw, which you can see spares from 80 kilo euros till 70 million euros, which means a funding gap, which in some cases was 0, and in other cases had a total amount of 67 million euros. But we say that it's quite coherent that the initiatives have some lengths which are typical of the infrastructure projects. So many projects are working on long-term initiatives which last 20 years of constructions and management of new installations. So here you can find some features of the supporting projects or the supported projects and some common traits, even if we cannot say that all the projects are the same. Regarding the technical aspects, we can see that there are different maturity levels of the selected projects. There are different technical solutions, and most of all, we start from different infrastructures and on the islands. So it's not easy in many cases to launch initiatives if the basic infrastructures or the grid connections are not available. Regarding the legal aspects, this is a very important point for the islands. We see that in many cases, local authorities do not have high power, or they have not high representations in order to accomplish the authorization and procedural steps needed to launch the initiatives. And in many cases, we see also that cities and islands have to work on the same procedures in order to launch the projects. So there are some very important imbalances between them. Social aspects are obviously the fourth pillar of the preparation of projects in the islands, which means, as we have already said, and as you have seen in the main, in many workshops, also in sustainable places, which means that each project in the island must be launched, include the citizens and including also the stakeholders. So a great work in the preparation of projects must be done in selecting and understanding which can be the stakeholders who can support the preparation and the launch of the initiatives. Regarding the financial assistance, we provided obviously the basic steps of the access to finance, mainly the definition of the business model, the mapping of financial opportunities, and the application for funding. Another important aspect regarding the projects in the islands is the impact assessment, and we are going to talk later about this. So we can say that in our point of view and what we saw in our experience, that it's not possible to access to finance if technical aspects, procedural aspects, and social aspects have not been defined yet. And on top of this, obviously, business models have to be very well prepared. Financial sources must be mapped, selected, and we have to support the concrete application to financial opportunities. Regarding the investment risks, this is a great part of analyzing a project. So you know that when analyzing the financial opportunities and analyzing the projects, it's very important to analyze the risks. And this is very relevant in order to define which could be the final revenues and who can manage the final risks. So in terms of projects in the islands, in many cases, not all of them, high risks implies the need of higher returns. The main risks which are related to the island projects and the higher costs which are related to the island projects can be referred to the shipping and transportation costs. So it's very expensive to provide, and basic materials in order to build and to accomplish works in the islands. There are longer procurement and logistic procedures. There are higher insurance costs in order to provide resources to the islands. There are initial authorization and constraints which make everything a little bit more longer and which ask some more costs. Regarding the revenues and the costs, which are the management part of the initiatives, we can see that in many cases in the islands, especially in the small islands, there are some fragile local economies. There are not many actors which are working there. So there's a limited number of actors and competitors which can provide services and which can realize the works or substitute enterprises which are working, or maybe they are not working as needed, or in the case if some other works are needed. One of the biggest problems of the islands is obviously seasonality, which means that there are some peaks in the production of energy and in the use of the islands. This means that revenues are concentrated only, for example, in some months of the years, and this means that obviously, regarding an investor point of view, the risk related to these revenues is much higher. So in the case that something goes bad for 1 year, like in the COVID example, revenues are at risk, so the final returns which are asked for the projects are higher. That's why we can say that the impacts are very relevant for the islands. Like in many other areas in Europe, like the inner areas, despite the relevant costs and barriers of investments in the islands, high impacts are able to justify the financial investments, or they can accelerate the interest of public investors, institutional investors, or public funds. Regarding the impacts we are analyzing, and you can see it in the deliverables, which are online regarding our projects, we are analyzing several dimensions, like the social impacts, the environmental impacts, and the impacts on local economy and well-being. Obviously, if we consider these impacts all together, we can see that the total amount of value which is created by this project in the island is much higher than the economic value. So institutional investors can decide to invest in these initiatives, or probably in some cases, the population is going to invest in them by crowdfunding schemes. You can find here some examples of the social impacts, which includes obviously the creation of green jobs, higher social inclusion, the fight to energy poverty, which is an outstanding theme nowadays. Regarding the environmental impacts, we can see that the improvement of existing infrastructure is relevant and can give some positive impacts for the whole island. And then obviously there's a contribution to decarbonization and greening the local economy. Then finally, regarding the impacts on local economy and well-being, there's higher social inclusion, and another important value which is created by the projects in the island is the reliability and stability of energy supply. This is very important to say that it's very important to study in depth which are the impacts of the project, trying to define what's the value in terms of the equal value created in terms of euros, and trying to give the overall picture of these initiatives. Here you can find also some basic numbers of and examples of the one project on which we are working in Greece, in terms of jobs created, energy supply secured for families, and obviously the CO2 emissions which have been reduced. Regarding the financing schemes, and this is one of my last slide, you can see that our ideas regarding the importance of technical assistance and the importance of understanding which is the correct financial opportunities is that we have been able to secure finance for some NESOI projects. Or we can say that in some cases we prepared the projects for some existing funds, and we supported the access to existing funding opportunities which otherwise couldn't have been exploited. So this is an example of the projects we supported, which have already obtained some financial sources in order to launch the initiatives. As you can see, regarding the financial sources secured for our projects, there are grant schemes, so grant sources for the initiatives. In some other cases, technical assistance sources were available, and in other cases, private funding and crowdfunding sources were activated. Obviously, public financial instruments and public sources are very, very important, and we are working a specific time period in which the National Recovery Plan have been very, very important, and a great opportunity to launch the initiatives in the islands. So I'm leaving the floor to Luigi, which is just going to give you a quick overview of some of these projects and how we have worked on them.
Thank you, Cristina. So just to, let's say, provide some practical examples of how we are supporting the islands and what kind of work we are conducting with respect to the financial assistance. Here you can find 3 examples of projects that are either let's say already completed or are about to being complete soon. The first one is the one that we previously talked about in the Diapontia Islands in Greece, where the goal of or actually before, let's say, going to present each one of them, we can see, we decided to bring these 3 examples because we can see how different the NESOI support is with respect to the context of the single islands. We have, let's say, we support either projects that are, let's say, in the very, very early stages of their energy transition. And here the most appropriate one would be the one that you can find on the right part of the slide. But also projects that are, let's say, in the middle phase. So it's kind of where we are assessing the overall feasibility from the technical, from the financial point of view. And let's say a more advanced example is we can find also examples of projects are let's say heading into the implementation stage, where we have to assess, for example, what are the exact amount of investment, and let's say who is going to procure them, and how we're going to realize, let's say, the infrastructure in the very short term. And so respectively, these three let's say projects are, as I said, the one on the right, so where we supported 5 different realized very important initiatives concerning, first of all, the completion of the transition agenda, which is, of course, the basic document for the local administration to go on with their projects, as well as the definition of the next steps and some first, let's say, activities of data gathering, which are very important for let's say, going on with future projects. The other one which I presented was actually the first one, which you can find on the slide, on the Diapontia Islands in Greece, where we are defining, let's say, the feasibility of the initiative, and we are finding, let's say, the most appropriate solution and the best financial structure with which we can realize the investment. The third example is related to is a project conducted by the municipality of Cagliari in Sardinia, and here we have come at a let's say later stage of the project, where we had basically decided what are the actions that need to be procured in order to realize and to go forward with the realization of the energy community involving local school facilities. And so this was to, let's say, give a picture. Of course, it's very complicated because we have a lot of different situations, but these are, of course, just to provide an example of of the support that we are providing to our beneficiaries. I will now leave the floor to Christina for the final. Oh, okay. Okay, so okay, I will quickly, let's say, wrap up the presentation. To conclude, of course, we've seen what are the main, let's say, issues concerning the development of energy transition projects in the islands. From the technical assistance, of course, encompasses a lot of different kind of support. But what is very important to understand is, of course, the technical, the procedural also path of the investment that we are supporting. But other aspects that have already been, of course, underlined in other sustainable places, let's say, work and projects are the engagement, of course, of the citizens and the local stakeholders, which, of course, are not limited to the citizens once again, but may involve even municipalities, even community associations, for example. Especially in small islands, we have seen how they really have an active role in promoting the projects. And last but not least, I would also underline the role of course, financial resources, because of course, these are different and peculiar, let's say, projects to promote. Mainly, of course, the public resources are the, let's say, most perhaps obvious go-to option. But of course, the goal of this project is also to activate private resources, and we've seen with positive examples concerning also the development of crowdfunding schemes and even the involvement of banking financial players. So this was the end of our presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Cristina and Luigi. Now I will invite Manuel Solinek to present Lander.
Just a moment. Huh? Yeah. Sorry, it's a bit long for the transition. No, why? So I think it's a PDF in your case. Sorry. Full screen. How do I find the presenting?
I don't know about Apple.
It's okay.
Okay, so I hope that online everybody can hear me. So really happy to be here in the beautiful city of Nice that we got to see these days, and present to you some insights from the Islander project, and also my thoughts on how community-owned energy can be funded through citizens for the decarbonization of islands. And when I was starting working on this topic, which was actually not too long ago, I wanted to be a little bit more specific on how does it actually work. So I decided to structure my presentation in terms of this process scheme here, thinking about how the different parties of a renewable energy community come together to create this community, how they then actually invest into renewable energy projects, what could be potential business models for these projects, and then finally also to make the business case, what are potential benefits that they will receive. So I had a lot of question marks in mind, and I'm trying to give some insights and solve them together with you now. So first, I still want to give some little background on the Islander project. It's a Horizon 2020 innovation action with 11 partners of 7 EU countries, including 5 European islands. So we have one pilot island in the North Sea of Germany, the island of Borkum, where the main goal of the project is to demonstrate smart grid solutions in an operational environment, test those technologies, and then replicate those technologies to our 4 follower islands from Croatia, Greece, and UK, and then also think about further replication. So in principle, the Islander project can be divided into 3 pillars. We have hardware demonstration, software demonstration, and then also some supporting actions. So hardware demonstration, as I said, is mainly related to implementing different renewable energy technologies on our pilot island in Germany. Then in conjunction with that, we have a really strong focus on software demonstration, mainly general management software, the Smart IP platform, how is it called in our project, together with a demand response app for the users of these technologies, and finally also really sophisticated forecasting models to look at the future. And then for the supporting actions, we focus really strongly on replicating those solutions to other islands. We have one specific work package on renewable energy communities, and also, which is quite common, the communication, dissemination, exploitation work package. I quickly want to say something about us. So we are mainly active in supporting actions. We are leading communication, dissemination, exploitation, and we are also leading the work package on creating a renewable energy community on our pilot island, and we are supporting also in other work packages as well. So within our work package on renewable energy communities, we created this scheme on how to go towards the goal of creating a roadmap for our pilot island to create a renewable energy community. First of all, we wanted to prepare materials and messages, then go and engage the main stakeholders and inform also citizens, tourists, and other stakeholders through media, and finally combine all stakeholders in a series of workshops. This is then also complemented with a technical feasibility and economic viability study in order to come up with a roadmap at the end of the project. And currently the status, we are at in the middle of the project right now. So we just finished preparing the initial steps and are soon going to start the other activities to then come up with the roadmap towards the end of the project. So now I want to look at the first step of the process, how to create a renewable energy community. And therefore, I first wanted to understand what's the definition of that. I think we heard it yesterday already. It's defined by the Renewable Energy Directive. The European Commission wants to have open, voluntary, autonomous communities, which has participants, which are mainly local, domestic natural persons, SMEs, and local authorities, with the main goal to create environmental and social community benefits. Since I am, to the bottom of the slide. So since I'm talking mainly about the German situation here, how is this then translated into national law in Germany? A lot of different rules. Mainly, the importance of domestic natural persons is reflected by a minimum of 70% of voting rights for them. It is mandatory to, for all participants to be able to influence all the decisions of energy communities, and that no shareholder holds more than 10% of overall voting rights. So if you comply with those rules, what can you expect? You will receive some benefits, which is mainly related to reducing efforts for project realization. So you don't have to take part in tendering processes for PV projects up to a size of 6 MWh and wind energy projects up to a size of 18 MWh. You can also expect to receive additional grants, even though they are not really specific yet. However, you also have some downsides, unfortunately. You will only be able to realize one project every 5 years, which I think is not much. And also the concept of energy sharing within communities is not implemented yet, unfortunately. Then what are the most common legal forms for energy communities in Germany? Those are energy cooperatives. The main advantage is that this type of legal form has equal voting rights for all participants, and it has a quite intense audit process when you create this entity, so it's really safe. However, downside of that, of course, it's quite complex to found. That's also a second type of legal form, which is also common for energy cooperatives in Germany. However, in this case, it doesn't fully comply with the voting rights for all participants. So then let's look at how this energy community can then invest into renewable energy projects. And my main question was, can citizens significantly facilitate decarbonization on islands with their own capital? So I wanted to look at what's the investment needed to decarbonize islands in comparison to what's available in terms of capital on the islands. So to get like a first estimation, and it's a little bit rough, so be easy with me. I broke this further down, mainly into for the investments needed into heat demand, electricity demand, transport energy demand, and energy storage demand, because I thought those are the most important projects that energy communities can work on, and compare that to available capital, mainly focusing on what's available for citizens and what they can make happen by themselves. So on the next slide, I have some not yet. So I want to do this taking our pilot island as example. So our island of Borkum in the North Sea of Germany has an area of 31 square kilometers and has 5,500 permanent residents. And during tourist high season, it has over 25,000 residents. The energy consumption of the island is 235 gigawatt hours per year. 60% of that comes from heat energy demand, almost exclusively from natural gas. About 20% comes from road and maritime transport, in this case fossil fuels, and another 20% for direct electricity demand, which mainly is coming through a sea power cable, which is connecting the island to the mainland. So with this, I try to make an estimation on investment needed to decarbonize the island. So lots of calculations, way too much information, but the number I came up with was roughly 200 to 750 million euros, which is a really large range, of course. And while trying to make those calculations, I came up with some key insights that I want to share with you. So for me, it was really difficult to define energy storage. And the reason for that is if you go towards 100% of renewable energy as goal, then estimations in literature go towards really high storage demands. So this is producing the largest share of this spread in the range. Another conclusion was, so if you try to electrify heat production and electrify transport energy demand, then you will increase your overall electricity demand by a factor of 2 to 3. Then for estimating the available capital for citizens, so I was using a publication by the German Association for Energy Cooperatives. They found that by surveying over 800 energy cooperatives in Germany, that the average contribution per participant is roughly 5,200 euros. If you multiply that with the number of residents on the island, you come up with something close to 30 million euros available in capital, of course, neglecting, which is maybe the weakest assumption, the share of like the overall share of participants from all citizens. But okay, so if you compare those numbers, you come up with what's shown in the title of the slide, about 4 to 14% of capital can come from citizens, which I think is pretty significant and can activate additional financing. Then also for investments, I wanted to take into account which different types of technologies do you need. And luckily, we were able to build on an external study that has been provided by another project. And the main idea for our island is to use seawater heat pumps, which offer great potential to produce the high energy demand for heating. And then in order to realize that, the backbone of the system will be a district heating network. And unfortunately, the island itself doesn't have a lot of potential in creating renewable electricity by themselves, especially if you also take into account that the electricity demand will increase by a factor of 2 to 3. So we can already foresee, in order to fulfill our needs, we need additional renewable energy supply, which could either be offshore wind energy or upgrading the sea power cable. But the island itself will not be able to produce enough electricity by themselves. So which business models can we apply for renewable energy communities? So again, I took some information from the association I've been talking about formally. The main business models for energy communities in Germany are 80% are active in solar power projects, 30% are active in wind power projects, and 36% of all energy cooperators are also active in energy distribution. They are also active in all different other kinds of activities. I don't want to say that they are insignificant, but I wanted to focus on the main ones, which are energy generation. And for that, I want to look at two different models. First of all, a feed-in model, where all the electricity produced is fed into the energy grid, and a landlord to tenant model. So for the feed-in model, you build and operate renewable electricity plants. Everything that you generate is fed to the electricity grid, and for that you will receive a fixed feed-in tariff. The great thing about that is you have guaranteed offtake for a defined feed-in tariff, and you will have long-term contracts. Downside is there's not much flexibility in terms of pricing. Then for landlord to tenant model, which maybe is a little bit misleading, the title of that. In general, it means you will install renewable energy near or on a building where the electricity is directly consumed by the owner of that building or user of that building. So in that case, a contract has to be defined between landlord and tenant, and you are a little bit more flexible in defining this tariff. And the other great thing about that is you save a lot by not having to pay fees for the grid. You don't have to pay certain electricity tax in Germany, and also other fees bound to grid usage do not apply. However, downside is currently in Germany only residential properties are subsidized for this, and it's quite complex contractual relationship, which I try to quickly explain on the next slide because I found it specifically interesting. So starting with the operator of those plants, you will install your plant and generate electricity, which is then directly consumed by the end user, and excess energy will be fed to the grid. For that, the operator will receive a certain feed-in tariff as well. And in case if you are eligible for subsidies, you will also receive a subsidy by the network operator. Then from the point of view of the end user, you probably need additional energy from the power market. And finally, you need one party which is then organizing all contracts, which is the power distributor, which manages all contracts between the parties, and then also guarantees one certain power tariff to the end user. And in case of renewable energy communities, they can be operators, of course, but they can also be power distributors, but they don't have to be both. So now looking at the benefits, first of all, I want to start looking at economic feasibility. So for the feed-in model, it's quite clearly defined in the German renewable energy law. If you feed in all the power that you produce, you will get a certain bonus. And in that case, depending on the size of your installation, you will receive about 6 to 13 cents per kilowatt hours. So I think 6 cents counts for plants with over 1 megawatt of production, and 13 cents, I think it's below 40 kilowatt hours, 40 kilowatt peak. So then if you feed in only partial of your production, which is then also the case for the landlord to tenant model, you will receive a little bit less. You can expect to have a quarterly decretion by 1%. And however, which is great, is you will have this guaranteed for 20 years, so over the full lifetime of, for example, PV power plants. Then looking at the landlord to tenant model, if you are eligible for subsidies, you will receive 2 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour, also depending on size. And then there's another restriction, which I think is kind of not good for this model. So in case if you are subsidized, the total power price that you are offering to the end user can be a maximum of 90% of the total grid tariff. What does that mean? You need to maximize the direct energy consumption for your end user. You need to take care that the additional energy from the power market is not too large in comparison to direct consumption. Otherwise, it will screw up your energy price. But if you are able to increase direct consumption, you can save up to 10 cents per kilowatt hour by not having to use the energy grid, which is really large. So I think before the crisis in Ukraine, the grid taxes and fees made up for about 1/3 of the final energy price. So it's great, the benefit that you can generate there. Then, of course, as we all know, we also have social and environmental benefits. I think I don't have to go into detail in that. Going towards circular economy and, of course, stopping climate change and reducing CO2 emissions. So I want to summarize now what I learned preparing this talk. So if you want to create renewable energy communities in Germany, at least there are really strict regulations, especially on the mix of participants and how the voting rights have to be assigned. For that, you will receive some benefits, mainly in reduced bureaucracy of project realization. You can expect also to receive some additional grants, but it also has a major downside. If you really want to move fast, you cannot really limit the number of projects. Doesn't really make sense. Then in terms of investments, I think citizens can contribute really significant amounts of capital towards decarbonizing islands. However, what I also can see is that there is a certain bottleneck in potential energy production. For business models, I was looking at two main models for energy generation on the islands, feed-in model and landlord-to-tenant model. I think especially the landlord-to-tenant model is very attractive because you are kind of flexible in price. If you're not dependent on subsidies, at least, then I think there's great potential in organizing contracts, but has some complexity. And finally, of course, by that, we will realize plenty social and environmental benefits, and economic feasibility is defined by renewable energy law of the individual countries. So it's pretty difficult to get all the information for each and every country, but I think it's possible and there's a lot of opportunities there. So that's it. Thank you.
So now we're gonna do a very quick Q&A session. Want to stay in case you get a question from the audience, and then if you have any question for NESOI, please let us know so I can invite Christina to the floor as well. Any question from the audience?
Also repeat the question.
I have seen that, I hope they can hear me. You have in your project foreseen a district heating based on seawater heat pumps. So for the realization of this investment, it becomes really interesting to exploit the funds that the German government put this 3 billion euro for the development of district heating. I think it's a recent development. I don't know if you have already considered this opportunity.
As I said within the presentation, the main estimation for serving the heat demand on the island has been built on an external study, which has been provided by an, let's say, expert consulting company from another project. And they were also studying the possibility to receive public funds to fund this heating network and transitioning of the heating demand. And I think it was in the range of 10 to 20% of the investment needed for this district heating and seawater heat pump technology, which you were able to generate through public funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So you mentioned for the investment required on the island to provide the transition and the control that's available from CTV. Did you consider mature technologies that those are quite business as usual return on investment that would allow citizens to go get some debt on banking entities and finance people to look supporting successful, or is the investment you mentioned on technologies that are not mature enough to finance by debt on banking?
I think both. So I think storage is not mature yet, and that's also like a large point of uncertainty in those estimations. Especially, I think there are not many systems where you go towards full renewable energy supply and then also the storage that you need. And additionally, for the transport sector, I think it's also really difficult, especially if you go towards heavy road transport and maritime, let's say heavy shipping transport. Those are also not very mature technologies. For seawater heat pumps as well, it is being developed within our projects. There are smaller pilots available on our German island as well, but they are still working on scaling and further developing the technology to a higher TR level. So there are, let's say, it's built on many not so mature technologies yet.
This is Sarah, actually. I'd like to know if are you considering also to establish a direct conference at the national level, so also in Germany, in order to provide some policy guidelines and in terms of regulation of the needs, maybe the coming years, the framework, the local scenarios, also for the business models related to renewable energy community. So what can be done thanks to Islander and also other projects?
Okay. So Sarah have asked the contribution from Icelander to the regulatory framework of Germany, and how would be the impact the project would have.
Thank you.
So I think if you really try to make something happen, you will find all the barriers pretty fast. So I guess then you will also come up with some good solutions and policy recommendations. And we will have a public handbook of the project at the end of the project. So it will be available hopefully in 2.5 years. And it's kind of a public version of our exploitation roadmap, where we will then also include the main lessons learned of the project, and I think we will include it there. We did not include any specific tasks, for example, in our work package on renewable energy communities.
No. Okay. Thank you, Manuel. Now we have changed a little bit the agenda just for 50 minutes, and I invite Luke to present a GIFT project about designing flexibility serving green energy mix, and then we will have the coffee break after his presentation.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, got it on. Thanks. Hello, everyone. So I'm Luc Richaud from the company Oddity, that is a partner in the GIFT project, and I'm here today to try to explain what we developed in this project and how it can help to get to reach a greener energy mix on our 2 demonstration sites in Norway and Italy. First of all, so GIFT, it's a H2020 project that aims at decarbonizing the energy mix of European islands through the development of different innovations that I'm going to present. So quickly, an overview of today, the different objectives of GIFT, the innovation themselves, what are they, what have we developed, the 2 different demonstration sites, and the lesson learned. Just regarding timing, the project started in January 2019 and has been extended until June 2023. So we are in the final year of the project right now. So the main objective, as I said, is to decarbonize the energy mix of Ireland. And this is through 4 different goals: an high level of renewable energy penetration in the local grid, observability on the grid to manage the flexibility and plan the operation accordingly, the synergies between the electricity, heating, cooling, water and transport network, and finally, the reduce of the use of hydrocarbon-based energies. So the solutions themselves are separated into, I would say, 3 different layers. So first, we have a grid IT platform. This embeds all the data services that are required for such a solution. So we have the ESD that connects all the legacy system from the demonstration site to the solution, and the solution that is made through the digital twin, the prediction system, and the grid observability. So I see that the prediction system, there were one in islanding, the forecast, which is quite mandatory in order, quite mandatory in order to know what is going to happen in the short term, in order to design and set the flexibility accordingly. And on our side, we have a grid observability system that allows to understand, to estimate the network state and to shape flexibilities in order to mitigate the issue that can happen on the network. So this is first layer, so the grid IT platform. Then we have a VPS system that is developed by INEA, the coordinator of the project. And this system is a decentralized automatic demand response trading platform. So it connects all the flexibility needs, the ones that have been designed by the grid IT platform, with the flexibility sources, which are down there in yellow, the prosumers. And it make a matchmaking. Sorry, make the match between the needs and the offers in order to have an optimized operation of the island. And then in GIFT we have different prosumers, different type of prosumers. So they are they provide flexibility by modifying the energy demand pattern or selecting alternative sources for energy to reduce the load on the power grids. So there is a harbor EMS. So the transportation here is an issue as well. So there is a harbor EMS in order to be able to set when the electrical ship should be charged or not. Electrical vehicle and charging stations that are connected with the VPS as well. Factory EMS in order to say to the factory you can consume on the power grid now or not, because there is a need or not. And two types of storage. So yeah, storage is mandatory for those aspects. And we have two different technologies of fuel cell. HPR fuel cell and the smart energy hub, which is a hydrogen fuel cell that is backed with lithium batteries. So quickly an overview of each of those solutions. So the prediction system provides energy supply and demand forecast on each of the points of the islands that are necessary. Voltage profile as well, because the highly integration of renewable energy can create voltage swing on low voltage networks. So they are forecasting what could be those issues, and then they design flexibility needs, demand response size, and forecast prices for those flexibilities. Then there is this grid observability system. It's a dedicated solution for the island's DSO, and it helps to ensure that the network is operating under appropriate operational conditions, and that a higher penetration of distributed energy resources will not damage the operation of the network. And that is done based on most of the smart meters data of the island. So we collect all the smart meters data. We compute a model based on this smart meters data, and we run this model in order to have an overview of the load of each of the assets of the network and the voltage of the network. So thanks to this system, we have an optimized asset management with CapEx deferral, because if we integrate a lot of renewable energy sources, there might be a need for a huge increase in network reinforcement. So having a good overview of what is happening on the network allows to set the resources where they should be, and to make sure that the capacity is not going to be too important. There is a dedicated user interface and a real-time state estimation to place the flexibility request when they are needed. Then the VPS system, as I said, it's an automated flexibility exchange platform. It connects all the different prosumers with the needs of the grid, and make the match and ensure all the the financial transfers between the DSO, that is the one requiring the flexibility on our case, and the different customers. And it is based on a flex offer protocol that is a universal protocol to describe how flexibilities, to describe shape and exchange flexibilities. So quickly on our demonstration site, so we have one in Norway, and so there were flexibility assessments to know what could be the potential of the island. We have four different prosumers that could be interesting for the system and interested into participating in the system. So two schools that have boilers, a kindergarten that have some eating facilities, the DSO office itself that has a lot of HVAC requirements, and a wholesaler that is using large freezers. So we can see that there are a total amount of more than 3 megawatt per day on the island. I will present the island a bit later. That is not that important. Then quickly on the different system, the HBR flow battery. So this is a fuel cell that allows to store the hydrogen based on a chemical reaction with bromine. So that is using reactants, chemicals that are not that are just used, not consumed. So it just is a closed system that can store a lot of energy, because we can scale easily the energy part and the power part they are independent both, and they have these have fast reactivity that enable a fast switching between charging and discharging. I will just go to the cost of it. At the expected cost of services is inferior to 5 cents a kilowatt hour, which is quite low for the standards of all batteries. Quickly, a picture of the system that is for now. This is not installed on the island of Norway, but this is in the premises of Elestor. So we have in the yellow part we have the HBR cell, and the gray part is where the chemicals are stored. Then there is the smart energy hub, that is a hydrogen fuel cell that is operating at high temperature. The particularity of it is that it's backed with Li-ion batteries that allow to have the responsiveness of Li-ion batteries and the capacity of storage of the hydrogen, because we can store easily hydrogen, like hospital does it. In a lot of megawatts of energy can be stored cheaply, but the power can be an issue. So they back the system with the Li-ion batteries, and some pictures of the facilities. So in red we have where the hydrogen is stored. They are just classic gas bottles, and just under in white we have some of the cells. Okay, quickly go to the EV charging. So there is a development of EV charging that are connected to this VPS in order to trade the flexibility between the electrical vehicles and the VPS. Two cases are considered: the one with home charging, so someone that is installing EV charging infrastructure at his premises, at his home, and that is using it with his personal car, and one of public charging.
with 2 different partners of the project. So what is deployed here is the EV charging infrastructure and all the EMS that connected to the VPS. And finally, we have in order to have an overview of what is happening on this on all those different solutions, we have a solution of analytics dashboard to understand and see the performance of each individual technological solution that is developed by Intracom. Regarding demonstration sites, so we have one in Procida, which is a small island with great congestion. It's just next to Napoli in Italy, and it has a high seasonality of demand as well because a lot of tourism there. What is going to be deployed is the EV and charging station, factory EMS, and the smart energy hub. And then the INOS cluster islands, so in Norway, north of Norway. It's a cluster of large and small islands, and there is a big, huge fish farm industries that is using diesel generator, and one of the objectives is to reduce this consumption. There will be cheap harbor EMS deployed there, EV charging station, factory EMS, and the HBR flow battery. Just go to the lesson learned now. So after a bit more than 2 years of project, what we found is that it's really challenging to get the appropriate grid network data in order to make sure that we will install the facilities at the right place, that we can model all the grid as needed. And it is hard as well to motivate potential prosumers to be included into flexibility trading system because it's not something that is straightforward for everyone, and they need to understand what is what is for them inside this system, and it's not that easy to explain it. The results so far, so we have all the interoperability and integration lab tests that are done and the grid state observability that is running. And the future activities are deploying solution and validation of 2 demonstrations islands and the business case in the follower islands. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you. And if you have any questions.
Right. Does anyone from the audience have a question for Luke?
Sorry, Sarah. So my question is, for example, the ODT grid observability system or other technology we have just seen, so thank you for the presentation. Are you going to provide as a sort of package of all the solutions together for target audiences, or are you considering exploiting them to different actors? And so which is the business models behind it? What we can say, maybe it's confidential, so
no,
I'm not
sure.
asking for something there.
No, the idea is to partner all together, because we have, as you can see, we are quite interrelated. Like there is data flow in between each system. The VPS is the layer that is connected to everyone, and so all the replicabilities to it that we are doing consider the whole system. So the gift project being a solution sold to Ireland as it is in the 2 demonstration site now.
Second quick questions, which are, so in terms of follower islands, maybe there are some different scenarios and different conditions. Are you able still to consider the full package of the gift and also the follower island, or maybe some technologies might be not mature, or maybe there are, I don't know, difficulties?
Well, the main part is for the prosumers, because this is the most island dependent, I would say, and the storage as well. Well, we faced some difficulties because some island don't want a type of storage on their island. Let's say the HBR, it's going through a lot of industrial tests to make sure that everything is safe.
but still there is chemicals that some municipalities don't want, or there are some aspect that we need to have a leaflet, and they pick the solution they are okay with. Because it's all of menu. But for the I would say the software part, I think it's less problematic, and each brick, each part, each solution is necessary for the whole system. We got to send it as a whole.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other question from the audience? No.
Okay.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Should we go for the break?
Yeah. So we're gonna go for a break, and we're gonna reconnect at 10:50.
10:50, yes.
Yeah.
30 minutes. Okay.
30 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Morning again to all of you. Welcome back. As introduced by Bruno earlier, Giorgio Bonvicini from RINA, I will be the moderator for this second part of this workshop. And I will also start the second part of the workshop by presenting additional learnings from NESOI compared to the ones that were already presented by our SYNLOC colleagues that are the project coordinators. So I will focus my presentation on the technological aspects only. So the title of my presentation is Technology Integration for Island Decarbonization, with some key learnings, preliminary learnings, I would say, from NESOI. Okay. As you already know from the previous presentation by SYNLOC, NESOI is the European Island Facility. Our target is to unlock the potential of EU Island to become the locomotives of energy transition. It is a 4-year project. It will finish in September 2023. It's coordinated by SYNLOC. We have these partners that you can see in the slide. And we have 10 million euro budget, of which 3.1 million of cascade funding provided to the islands for their energy-related projects. We have these goals that you can see in the slides. Our target in terms of results is to mobilize 100 million euro of investment in energy transition for Ireland, achieving 440 gigawatt-hour of primary energy savings and 160,000 kilotons of CO2 of greenhouse gas avoided per year. So, as you already know from the presentation, we have these two calls with more than 160 applications received from islands. We can say that these applications are quite representative samples of European islands and their projects, their activities in the field of energy transition. So it is really interesting to see what the islands that apply to our project proposed in terms of energy transition of their territory. So here on the top right of this slide, we can see that the largest share of projects propose production of energy from renewable sources, followed by energy efficiency intervention on public assets. Then energy planning was the third most recurring solution. Of course, as you can see, the total is not 100% since the different proposal could entail more than one technology or solution. We get of the project that applied for our support, for our NESOI support, were in actual design phase, 60%, followed by 30% of projects that were at entry level, so in the phase of energy planning or concept definition, let's say, and only 10% in the deployment phase, since probably projects that are already in a deployment phase have less need for the support of NESOI. We have these 54 selected projects. I just skipped this slide that you have already seen in the previous presentation and move to the more technical aspects. In order to support the proposal, the application of islands to NESOI, we had prepared in the initial phases of the project. So before the launch of the first and then of the second open call, we have developed some technical assistance menus that could choose to prepare their application. So we can see that for entry-level project, the technical menu was mainly referred to the development of planning documents. For the conceptual design level project, we had the possibility to choose between feasibility studies and due diligence. For the deployment level, we had different choices. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, only a limited part of the project that applied are in the deployment level phase, but the services that we could provide were related to the support in tendering procedures, to the support for the evaluation of public-private procurement proposals by private promoters, private-public partnerships, sorry, supported to local authorities again for tendering procedures, supporting the application to programs and funds, and economic and financial modeling and fund matching. In addition, of course, there was the possibility for islands applying to NESOI to develop their own customized menu by selecting the activity that had the best potential, the highest potential for unlocking their project for energy transition. In order to provide to the NESOI facilitating platform some additional inputs, we developed at the beginning of the project a catalog of technology pairings in order to evaluate the most suitable technology for island energy transition, the needs and the features of the islands that could apply to the NESOI calls, and the needs of the stakeholders. So we have defined technology to technology pairings, technology to island pairings, and technology to stakeholder pairings. This exercise was done initially based on scientific literature and expert opinion within our consortium, while later in the project we are updating this based on the results on the first and the second open call, which are a significant source of information. Since, as I mentioned before, we had more than 160 applications, so we have a large database of potential projects for island energy transition. So, as I have mentioned, for islands, we have a clusterization of islands, and we have clusterization that is based, first of all, on the size. We have large, medium, and small islands. For small islands, we are further classifying them between interconnected and non-interconnected with a specific reference to the electricity grid. And then for each of the two categories, we are evaluating separately islands with high seasonality or without seasonality. So mainly those where the energy consumption varies, the energy demand varies strongly during the year, either due to the activities or to climate reasons. And those that where the demand is more or less constant during the year. A second level clusterization, additional, is related to the latitude of the islands, southern Mediterranean Europe or northern and central Europe, by orography, mountainous or flat, by distribution of population, by economic activities. We have some islands that are mainly tourism-based, other islands are mainly agricultural-based. In some other islands, we have a significant presence of industries, this especially in larger ones. And then, again, we have the possibility of clusterized islands based on the availability of specific resources, for example, biomass, for example, of water for hydropower, or water in terms of needs to desalinize, to produce water for drinking and other purposes. And other specific features, for example, related to waste management, to transport activities, both on the islands and between the island and the nearby ones, etc., etc. As concerned technologies, we have this clusterization. So we have energy production from renewables, both for electricity and for heat. with the main sources that you can see here in the slide. We have electrical mobility projects that are related both to electric vehicles on the island and to electric ferries, as well as to the development of infrastructures. We have energy storage projects that are related to battery storage, but also to hydrogen production and to thermal energy storage. We have a set of technologies related to the upgrade of local public assets, so power distribution grid, public lighting, ports, which have also an important role, water treatment and distribution, waste management, and then we have energy efficiency in buildings. So all of the activities and the project that can be implemented also on the mainland referring to energy efficiency in buildings. Based on this clusterization, let's come to the results. Here you can see in the next 3 slides a very small table. I don't know if it is readable. Yes, it is there, where we wanted to show the coupling between the technologies. So you can see in the rows and in the columns the different technologies that we are considering and the main interactions and the coupling that we foresee as possible for island energy transition, and especially I have marked in red the coupling between renewables and 3 categories of projects that are electrical mobility, energy storage, and upgrade of local public assets. This is because based on the initial review of literature review that we had carried out following the review of the project that the application that we have received for the open calls, we see that these are, at least from the technology to technology coupling point of view, the most recurring ones. So we have projects willing to implement local electrical mobility solution with renewable power production. We have a lot of projects related to renewable energy production coupled with energy storage, for example, also for hydrogen production, as I mentioned before. And we have projects related to coupling renewables with many local public assets that include, for example, ports that are really important in islands, of course, but also lighting systems, but again, also water treatment, water desalination, water production. Then, okay, sorry, we have also a technology to island coupling. So we are coupling the technologies in the rows and their features with the islands of different categories of islands in terms, as I mentioned before, of size of interconnection, of latitude, geographical features, economic activities, etc., etc. Here we have a lot of results in one of our deliverables, this deliverable 3.2. This is just a summary of these results. And again, highlighted in red, we have the solution, the couplings with, in my opinion, while I prepared this presentation, the best potential for also replicability. So I am highlighted that electricity production from renewables is highly applicable in tourism-based islands, since the maximum electricity production is during the summer when the maximum energy demand exists, but also electrical mobility has a higher potential in this kind of islands, since also services in terms of car sharing, in terms of electric car charging infrastructure can be provided to tourists, and also electric ferries are applicable in this kind of islands, in order also to promote the image of an island willing to be more sustainable, also in terms of tourism activities. Then I have highlighted also energy storage, which is strongly applicable to small non-interconnected islands, especially in terms of its potential to decarbonize the island by increasing the self-consumption rate and reducing the need to generate electricity from fossil fuels when the renewable power available is not enough. To go to the conclusions, we have also technology to stakeholder coupling. Here I have highlighted the strong role of municipalities, local authorities, public asset operators in terms of support to this kind of project. Since, renewable energy project, electrical mobility, energy storage project, etc., energy efficiency in building projects could also be implemented by private actors, as they are also on the mainland, but to enable the full decarbonization or a very high decarbonization of the islands, we need to invest in technologies that are managed by public authorities. So mainly the electricity grid, mainly water treatment facilities, the infrastructure for charging electric vehicles, ports, etc., etc. And generally, these assets are managed by public authorities, and it is really important to engage them and get their support. Then an additional point to be highlighted is energy communities. There is a really high potential for energy communities in islands, also to maximize the environmental, of course, but also the economic and social benefit related to the high energy price that typically characterized islands and other indirect economic and social benefits. In order to capitalize the experience that we have developed in NESOI, both in analyzing the proposals submitted to NESOI and in carrying out, developing the more than 50 technical assistance projects, we have decided in NESOI to create focus groups internally to the project. We have 5 focus groups focusing on energy planning, on energy communities, on renewable energy sources, on hydrogen, and on electrical mobility. Each of these focus groups is led by one of us participating to the provision of technical assistance, and this has the aim to share among us the technical and financial and legal expertise of partners, cooperate to solve issues and identify solutions in order to maximize the efficiency in providing the technical assistance to the island in their energy transition projects. To conclude, first of all, I would like to highlight that the most suitable island energy transition project depends on the local features of the island. So tailored energy planning is the most important thing, as also highlighted by Sinlock previously in their presentation. We have not the possibility to generalize which is the most important and most applicable solution for energy transition of islands. Islands are really ideal laboratories for energy transition that can start on islands and be replicated then on the mainland. For example, with reference, as I mentioned, regarding the technological coupling, hydrogen production from renewable energy sources, coupling renewable energy sources with storage systems, with electrical mobility, with desalination. Of course, this could be less applicable on the mainland, but it depends on where we are. Also, renewable energy sources for heat production and integration with district heating and cooling that we discussed also earlier. And to conclude, green ports. All of these assets, as I have already mentioned, are mainly related to public assets, but they are directly impacting on the life of citizens and on the local economy. Then, as I have already mentioned, I would like to recall that energy communities have a very high potential, could improve the security of supply on islands, mitigate energy poverty, which is a really important topic, and maximize renewable energy sources self-consumption. And then to conclude, we don't need to forget that energy efficiency is one of the most important area of intervention, and all the action that can be done in the mainland with reference to building envelope, to lighting, to ventilation, heating, air conditioning, and whatever, also in the industrial field, if industries are present, can be implemented also on islands, but generally with higher environmental, social, and economic benefits due to the constraints that being on an island poses to energy aspect in general. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. For this second session, we were discussing with Sophie, probably it's better to have the question and answer session after each presentation. So now I am available for you if you have any question for me. Please, Adesio.
Yeah. So I'm Adesio and I work Thank you, George. My question is related to when you talk about a small, medium, big items. The idea is to compare this and how to define the size. It looks like a simple, but EU has a parameter.
Okay. Yes, sorry, thank you for reminding me. And as he was asking about the clusterization of islands that we have, so large, medium, and small scaled islands. For this specific clusterization, we have developed our own criterion. Actually, I'm sorry, I can tell you later, checking the deliverable, I don't remember the exactly square kilometer that we have considered, but when we talk about large island, we consider Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, Crete, and very few other islands. Medium islands are in the middle, and small island we consider really the small ones of few tenth of square kilometers that have some peculiarities related to their size. I will tell you later, checking the deliverable, the exact size. Have you any, for example, any proposal for this? Any official reference that you were mentioning for European?
No.
Okay.
But thank you. Then I can compare with Norway.
Okay. I will share it with you at the end of the workshop. Thank you. Any other question? Okay. So I will give now the word to myself again. I will also present briefly the IANOS project.
Sorry, it's
No
a bit
problem,
long.
no
I
problem.
don't know why. Here you go.
Thank you. So I apologize in advance. I'm not very directly involved in the IANOS project, so I hope I will be able to answer your questions. I start my presentation. IANOS project is focused on sustainable solution for island decarbonization, like our other project we are talking about. It is a 4-year-long project, started in 2020, going to finish in 2024, with 8.8 million euro of budget and 34 partners in the EU. We have 2 physical demo sites, one in Ameland in the Netherlands and one in Terceira in Portugal. And in addition, we have 3 fellow islands that are Lampedusa, Bora Bora, and Nisyros. And across these physical demo sites, not virtual demo sites, but fellow islands, we will implement and test our IANOS intelligent virtual power plant approach. Our key objectives for the IANOS project are related to the facilitation of the adoptions of extremely high renewable energy sources penetration, to the demonstration up to TRL 8 of specific intervention
So sorry, we were disconnected. We are now reconnected, I think. Perhaps, Giorgio, you may start again at the beginning of this slide.
Yes, yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, no problem. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the challenges that we are encountering in the IANOS project. I was saying that they are mainly technology related due to the need to integrate very different technologies and to integrate the data from different sources. Hence, the implementation of some of the innovative technologies depend also on funding sources that are external to IANOS and to the European funding received. Community related in order to get the acceptance of the local communities for these technologies, to engage and increase the grid stability and reduce energy poverty, to optimize real-time the availability, the use of distributed energy resources, and then we have also market-related barriers and challenges related to the macroeconomic context. The concept developed in IANOS is based on local energy communities, and it's really important for a successful energy transition of the island. As I mentioned before, in addition to the technological intervention in physical demo sites, we have developed in the project an IPP, Intelligent Virtual Power Plant Architecture, that is able to integrate inputs from a very rich variety of assets. We have the possibility to gather this data and to communicate with different kind of assets and to show the inputs and use these inputs for simulation related to the different assets that you can see in this slide. So various kind of renewable energy production systems, the electricity grid, electric vehicles, the potential hydrogen systems, extra. So we have technology that you can see in the slide for the supply of energy, for the demand of energy, and for the storage of energy. And putting together these three aspects, we are able to identify the solution in the operational solution that minimizes the CO2 emission, the energy demand, and the energy supply cost. As concerns on the other hand, tidal energy, so we have a tidal kite here shown. We have phase-changing material-based thermal batteries. We have a flywheel. We have hybrid transformers, and we have bio-based saline batteries. In addition, we have some more conventional solutions like fuel cells, hybrid heat pumps, electrolyzers, photovoltaic plants, etc., etc. Based on these actions, we have ambitious targets for impact. In Lighthouse Islands, we foresee an increase of renewable sources utilization by 33%, from 33% to 70% in Terceira, and from 5 to 20% in Ameland. A reduction of fossil fuel consumption from 66 to 30% in Terceira and from 95 to 80% in Ameland. An important reduction of CO2 emission, or greenhouse gas emission in both islands, from 91,000 tons to 41,000 tons in Terceira, and from 95,000 to 58,000 tons in Ameland. In addition, also our fellow islands have important targets that they want to implement in the next 8 years. So Lampedusa aims to cut CO2 emission by 63% until 2030. Bora Bora to produce 75% of electricity from renewable sources by, again, 2030. reduce 800 tons of CO2 equivalent in the same period. As you can see, the project timeline, from the project timeline, now we are in the phase of system implementation, integration, commissioning, and the next phase will be the evaluation of the performance of the demonstrator, and then the monitoring, of course, and the use of this data and this information for the stakeholder engagement and the promotion of the project results. And then the project will end in a couple of years, in September 2024. To conclude, IANOS is an EU-funded project that aims to test and design this solution, highly replicable and advanced for smart grids managed by this intelligent virtual power plant on islands. It implements, it puts together conventional and innovative solutions for energy management. The results are useful to support also the development of plans for other islands in the field of energy transition, and additional tools that we will develop in the project that could be interesting for other islands are related to the use cases analysis and the toolkit for investment in energy transition. This is the end of my presentation, and thanks again for your attention. Is there any question on this? I hope to be able to. Otherwise, thank you. I leave the floor to my colleague Bruno Sodiro, that will present the INSULAE project.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As I present myself before, I'm Bruno Sodiro. I'm part of RENA team, and in INSULAE project, we are working as exploitation leaders. So I'm gonna go presenting the project in a little bit brief about the scopes and goals we want to achieve, and then I will concentrate in one of the most important key exploitable results of INSULAE, and have an overview of the use cases we are implementing. So the project is an innovation action founded at least 12 million, had an initial duration of 48 months, and was extended before the last review meeting because of some criticalities that we were experiencing during the project. With the COVID emergency, we had a few delays in the use cases, so we had this extension, and we hope we can achieve the project goals. We are 26 partners from 9 European countries, and the coordinator is Circe from Spain. The goal is to the deployment of these innovative solutions for the EU islands decarbonization. And we have 3 lighthouse islands, which are Madeira in Portugal, Unije in Croatia, and Bornholm in Denmark, where we are developing 7 replicable use cases, which results are used to validate and demonstrate an investment planning tool that will be further replicated in 4 follower islands, and they will get those those action plans for investment in the energy mix. The use cases we are developing in the islands are divided due to their needs. We have in Nije the first 3, a hybrid rest and storage system, which is monitored and which give an island as Unije the possibility of being more relied on renewable energy sources. Then a smart control of water and energy, which actually is a desalination plant powered by a PV system and a battery, and which outcomes are used for irrigation of vineyards in the region. Unige it's a really little island, and they were having some issues with water resources. And then we have energy communities powered by 5G and Internet of Things. The main thing here was to empower the communities in Unige by allowing them to access a smart box, an energy box that is connected to the grid, and to develop a blockchain algorithm that allow them to access the energy market as well as prosumers, and to create also further of the area of the Unige island, and integrated in the future with the whole archipelago and the mainland. For Bornholm, we had the opportunity in the last review meeting to see these DC microgrids. They had implemented these reconfigurable batteries powered by a PV and connected to the grid. That they fast EV charging. The initiative was to have this EV charging for free, located in a school, so they could get some lot of info from the EV charging cycles, and they used them to validate or to optimize the models that they had in the starting, and do the improvements. For the 5 use case, they as we've seen in other projects as well, we have this virtual power plant for analysis of the bio-based power system, and how the community could have a good impact on the grid. They use this to simulate how biogas could have a major impact in the future of the island energy mix. And the last 2 cases were for Madeira Island, that the developments and actions were regarding to EV charging and balancing weak microgrids. So the first use case is to use electric vehicles to do back and forward charging when needed, and balancing the microgrid through a smart EV charger. And the second one was to integrated a system with grid stabilization and operation for the island, relying on controllers, the smart controllers as well. So it was both related mainly to mobility. But the most important key exploitable result of INSULAE is the IPT, which is an investment planning tool who gets all these use cases to be validated and to offer it as the investment after the project is finished. The investment planning tool, or IPT, is this web-based software that has the objective of assist the decision making for energy strategies for islands and monitoring the insular energy system. The idea is to starting from an island modeling assistance. So you have the whole island, the nodes, the assets, you represent how they are in the current state and how that are impacting. You can also consider mainland energy supply. And then you have an scenarization mode module where you have the opportunity of analyzing how would be the future perspective when implementing a pathway in the time. So I will go a little bit more in detail on that. The model of the multi-energy system in an island, you have the detailed representation. You can define the advanced features and analyze it based on the key performance indicators. So at the beginning, you have something like this, where you have all the nodes and the energy mix depending on the grid. You can represent it, the full energy system of the island. And for example, this one, Madeira, they have some interconnections between the islands. They were powered by other. And then in the scenarization part, you start, as I said, with the initialization. You create a pathway with the number of years you would like to analyze how to invest and the duration of each step. And then you configure your interventions, for example, saying you would like to increase your PV production or increase your biogas production, applying the interventions, and then launch a computation that optimizes this energy mix and gives you the outputs in terms of KPIs. And the platform has a really good user face to see these results in a way that will allow the public entities and different investors in Ireland to decide how would be the best way to approach it. The replication would be, as I said before, it would be done in 4 follower islands as part of the project. The idea is that the public institution in those islands use this IPT in order to get their action plans. But the idea is that for the future it could be used for non-government organizations, universities, research institutes, and so on. We are actually inviting all of you, if you want, you can contact us. We are doing trainings on the IPT, and that is a very good opportunity for optimizing the tool. So we invite all of you to participate. It's a very interesting tool and has a lot of potential. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Just stay here for, okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Bruno into the project, of both from the room and from online attendees? No? Okay, thank you, Bruno. Now it's the turn online, I would say, right, of Marco Jelic from the Pupin. Sorry if I haven't spelled properly.
No.
He will present the React project.
Okay. Just can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Marco.
Okay.
And if you may switch on your webcam so that we can also see you.
Will do. Hi, everyone.
And we are going to make the presentation full screen, and then you can go. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry to not be there with you, but the event is organized so efficiently that I don't think it makes a difference. It's just that I'm not in France, but we'll fix that one day. So today I am here on behalf of a work package in the React project, so we're package 5. We have a consortium of technical partners which are behind the automated control loop for energy management in geographical islands. So this project is maybe geared more towards individual users. So I would say it's maybe on a lower level than ones you saw previously, but again, it's the same topic that we're listening to today. So we have 3 islands in React. We have La Graciosa in Spain, we have San Pietro in Italy, and we have Inismore from the Aran Islands in Ireland. And we have a mix of facilities between residential, commercial, and public. So we have different types of users for which we are planning, or actually already developing and implementing a controlled system for their energy assets. Besides this, we have 5 more replication islands for which we are discussing how the deployed solutions could be, let's say, scaled up so that we can also achieve the desired goals on those islands too. What we are precisely doing in Work Package 5, so we're basically developing a control loop, which is supposed to be able to automatically control the assets that we are deploying at pilot facilities within this project. And we have basically started from a model of the system, which corresponds to the technical layout of the assets that were installed. So on the left, you see a pseudo implementation of the system, an illustration basically. And on the right, you actually see how a dashboard looks when from the company that's providing the equipment, so in this case, Victron. So each of the facilities essentially has a grid connection, which is denoted in blue in both figures. We also have a PV system for most of the facilities. So we have some on-site production. We have electrical storages, and we have the loads. And the idea of the system as a whole is to provide a means to control all these assets to different levels of automation. So in order to make full use of load flexibility for both the end user benefits as well as the grid, so we have those both aspects merged in. We are doing both automatic demand response, let's say. We are doing some hybrid control actions, and we also have some let's say manual controls that are based on direct suggestions sent to the end users on how to behave, so that both devices that we can control through the internet, so for example inverters and heat pumps, systems that are, let's say, easier to automate in this context, can be exploited, as well as some minor appliances through manual user intervention. So besides the user aspect, we have been instructed, let's say, by the European Commission to also look at the grid perspective. So we are also looking at the users as a community and discussing how, if these users are joined in one single entity, and again, in line with the directives that you saw mentioned previously, we can essentially extend the impact of such a solution to also provide a means of stabilizing the system, of maybe peer-to-peer trading and so on.
No, it's all fine. You can continue. Sorry.
Okay.
We are just muting ourselves to avoid background noise.
No worries. So this is also an important aspect. So React, which essentially started as a user-focused project, is also considering those grid aspects, which are deemed crucial as the end goal of these types of projects. So what essentially we are trying to do, we start off with a bit of AI. We use a set of services to predict the generation and the demand. We also have a grid capacity management system, which I will also mention at a later stage, that determines the limitations of each facility such that no issues in grid operation arise. Then we exploit a bit of demand flexibility to determine what are the optimal modifications to the load. Now, again, these can be results of flexibility provided by the users, or we can also include external aspects such as demand response requests from an aggregator or the grid, and then to see how we can slightly shift or move this demand curve in order to, again, optimize, for example, costs for the end user, but also be in line with those requests, for example, for load reduction in critical times. Then we have a specific service that implements the resulting control actions. So let's say, the grid exchange set points, the heat pump instructions to turn on and off, or maybe adjust the set point and so on towards the end users. The grid capacity management in particular is an interesting service, which essentially looks at the model of the grid. It then instantiates the nodes that we have control of as, let's say, smart homes, as units that can provide some flexibility. And then it plays around with the limitations of power import and export to see what are the bounds in which these smart homes, these controllable facilities, have to be in order to not cause any problems for the grid. Because, for example, simultaneous feed-in from all the users can also be a significant issue for the distribution system. So essentially, we start from grid diagrams and we build our models. What is key in this aspect is that full DSO cooperation is needed in order to fully realize this part of the project, because in order to make these models, in order to be able to simulate, we need to know the layout of the grid. So this is a crucial, I would say, comment that we need to have in mind in projects like this, as well as future projects, to also include relevant grid side entities in order to make best use of these types of systems. And finally, it's important to have either a theoretically large enough scale or enough facilities to actually provide the significant impact for the grid. Because if we only employ 2 out of 200 users in a wider system, their impact would not be visible. So in order to fully demonstrate the solution, a large enough scale needs to be achieved. The actual control from our control loop, which is located in the cloud, is operated through an energy gateway based on OpenMOOC, developed by the Fraunhofer Institute. So we have the ability to control different types of assets. We do batteries and inverters, which essentially operate the connection with the grid through a particular set of control scenarios. We also have the ability to control power to hydrogen solutions, so essentially sending control messages to electrolyzers in order to operate them essentially like a storage system. We also have the ability to operate EV chargers, because electric vehicles are starting to be more and more popular, and we need to also include the ability to add them to the flexibility mix that we are providing. And we also have the ability to control both small and, of course, large-scale heat pumps, because in cases where we have thermal demand, this tends to be a large portion of the demand, and we need to have that flexibility included. And of course, in order to provide indirect controls, we also send the users push notifications, messages, with rough instructions on how to act and to make use of those appliances which are not fully automatic. Okay, and just to finish here, this is a demo case of essentially how the system works. So below is actually a terminal in which you can define like a control action or a set point, essentially the message that you saw in the slide previous. And for this system in particular, we want to control it such that the set point for the grid import power is 200 watts. We just send a simple message. Okay. And once this runs and we give it a few seconds to react, actually the system maintains the imported power, at 200 watts here from the grid. And once we do this continuously, we can essentially operate the system in the optimal way for whichever criterion is desired, whether it be the costs, whether it be operating with the maximum self-sufficiency, so using local energy, and a variety of different factors that, again, can come from either the users or the grid. Okay, this would be it from my end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marco, for your presentation. Again, I will ask the audience if there is any question, both from here and from online colleagues. Okay, so we can move to the next presentation. that is about the Robinson project and is done by Edesio Miranda Barbosa of the municipality of Eigersund. Okay. He is here in presence, so please join us.
Sorry, just a moment.
Bonjour, good morning everyone, just our way. So my name is Edesio Miranda Barbosa and I work as a CTO and a business developer for two companies in south of Norway. This first company called Eigersund Port and Industry and Port. So this is the part of the municipality to take care of the business development in this region. So just to give you an idea about where we are located about 75 kilometers south of Stavanger. Probably it's the city that you know in Norway. And it is representative because Stavanger is still not the oil and gas place in Norway, but you see that in Egersund it's not too far. We are in the energy transition, so we are not working with oil and gas there. We also develop tourism and, as I said, also business on the harbor. All right. So in Norway, you have a mission to reduce of CO2 emissions in 40% in 2030. If you don't do this, in the case that you are not doing a Robinson project, for example, specifically in Eigersund, the temperature should increase 3.5 degrees. So it will be more warm than today. In Norway, my friends there, they prefer to have warm temperatures, but this creates some problem. And this picture that I'm showing here, it's a flooding in Egersund in 2015. So all city was underwater, so it was not very nice. So about the Robinson project, so this is starting joint as the majority of the projects here. Some flagship Robinson. Now we are 18 partners from 10 different countries, European countries, such as Germany, Greece, UK, Italy, Spain, also Cyprus, Finland, and in Norway, who are 4 partners. We have 4 years to develop this project, so we are in the middle. This will finish in 2024. And in Egersund, you have an island, Eigersund. So this is the pilot for the project. And we have 2 follower islands. One is Crete and another Western Islands in Scotland. We have a budget of 8.35 million euros, and we got around 7 million euros for a year. So what is the idea of Robinson? It's obviously to decarbonize this island, Eigersund, And for this, to develop a energy system grid that will integrate not only energies, but heat and also gas. I'll show a little bit more about this. So I hope you can see this figure here on the right side. The yellow part is where we'll take our energy source. As you can see, it's very diversified. Now we are planning to have a solar, also wind, onshore, and currently also biomass and also hydrogen. So this will be our different energy sources. Here in the red is our heat system. So as you can see, we work not only for the industry, but also to heat the houses. And here on the blue, on the left side, it's what we have as gas today. A little bit of a history of IANOS. So this is a very small island. In this is 20 square kilometers. And 4 years ago, it has been installed a fishing industry in this island. And the necessity for energy increased a lot. So Robson project came to help us to develop only renewable energy for this use. Just to finish to show here in this figure, we also work on the waste treatment from this the waste that will be generated on this industrial zone. The Robson is a good acronym because the project title is very, very big. I try to read here because, but in case it's a smart grid system of local energy sources no, it's too small for me. Sorry, but you can see this in the presentation. But just to summarize better this, the idea is to create this energy management system coping all these three parts that I told you: energy, heat, and gas. The other company that I represent is SEAS, and this is a combination of 3 municipalities created this company. Sorry, it's in Norwegian, I didn't change, but our goal here is to do waste to energy. So this is connected to the last part of the previous figure that I showed. About the municipality and also everyone, the population of this municipality is around 15,000 people. The population density is 31.5 inhabitants per square kilometers. Our GDP is 9,149 euros. Energy needs until 2029. Watts. The pilot 6 square kilometers. Only the island is 20 kilometers, as I said earlier. So this is how is connect the island to the continent. You can see the right side. We have just one bridge until now. This start to create a problem because we have a traffic problem since the industrial zone is in the island. But we are now developed a project to also connect the continent to the island via water. We have water buses and ferries. We received some funding from the Norwegian government, and we are working on proposal for EU as well. What I'd like to emphasize here is from the beginning of our Robson project, and I'm also very surprised, it has been created several other projects. So the impact of Robson project is it's real there. So only two years that I started. I'd like to show this how Robson project is accelerating our development. We created an energy hub there last year. We also have a wind train center, since one important part of our energy source will come from the wind. Indeed, it's the first wind train center to educate blade technicians in Norway. Egerøy also will be a part of the repeat project, is H2020. And the idea in this project is to compare our results with another municipality in Finland, Östermalm. So we are starting now in October. And recently we also got very good success from another Europe proposal. So we will work on project from waste to energy. We got the excellent from Horizon Europe. And also we would like to go further, especially with the wind. We have wind onshore now, and the plan is to also develop wind offshore in the next future. For this, we have a project called FlexBoat that I showed a little bit more. The water bus that I told you, and we are also involved in other programs like Direct. So this is the RIP project is to do the energy transition. We have these three municipalities in Europe, one in Finland, UK, and also in Spain. We can have travel partners for industry, SMB, but also SME, SMB is Norwegian. Also Swedish environmental agents and two universities from Germany and Netherlands. In this project, we use bio-waste to produce biofuel. And in this process, we will capture CO2. In Norway, it's very important that and the government is putting a lot of investment of CCS technology. So we can be a CO2 hub for a big project that they have called the Longship. So they are capturing CO2 from the cement industry and transporting this to the west of Norway to store this. So we are in the middle from the initial project. So it's necessary to create several hubs to have a big quantity of CO2. And for this, we work also with the cement industry. So this is our energy hub. There we have around 80 industrial partners in this building, but also university from the south of Norway, and we are also put so much effort into secondary high school. So you have a courses for the young people, especially in. So this is to show that even in summer or even the winter, sorry, we use the maintenance of the wind turbines, which is not easy. So this is the flex float project that we are looking for funding. So the idea is to create a combination of solar, wind offshore, but also wave energies. Yeah. So for this, we have a big company in Norway that all these platforms that we are seeing, these come in the form of oil and gas companies. Yeah. So this is what we call the transition. So to finish, I would like to say that we are very small, but with a big ambition, concentrating renewable, wind, biomass, solar, and hydrogen. I forgot to say that in Robson project, we are installed the hydrogen fabric in the next year, and the storage of the hydrogen will be in our port. We have the project on to create a green mobility, the water bus. We developed aquaculture in this region, carbon capture utilization also, and obviously our smart grid. Thanks so much, and you are welcome to Aida.
I would like to ask from the audience if there is any question for Desio. Otherwise, I also have one brief.
Maybe one question. I hope it's not going too far into detail. But on the last slide, you mentioned that you are also working towards carbon capture and utilization. So what are you planning to utilize the capture carbon?
Yeah.
Just sorry, just to repeat for the audience online, the question was about carbon capture and utilization. The question was what CO2 will be used for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I could show that you got this new funding from EU to fund this bio waste that were generated from this fish industry. We plan to capture this CO2. First of all, we need to transport the bio waste from the island to the waste treatment location. So on this, we also plan to use green transport, obviously. But specifically on your question, this CO2, we will capture this and have as product CO2 almost pure. This is a Spanish research institute that they have the technique called Tecnalia. They are coordinator of this project that we got funding. From this CO2, we would like to have a biofuel. This biofuel we use for the aviation and for ship as well. So this will be our first utilization to create a biofuel. But since we are in the region with some agriculture interests, so in the future we also think to transform this to fertilizers. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, from the municipality point of view, which are the barriers, like non-technical barriers you are finding maybe when you are developing these new technologies, like carbon capture and utilization, hydrogen production. Do you find like difficulties within the national framework, like of institutions, or the non-technical barriers come from other sides?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately for Norwegian government, also regional and local, we have a lot of support. And so all this, indeed, the ROPS started from our side via a politician, a local politician. So this was his idea, and he, I wasn't there in this period, but he started to contact all industrials and the other actors. Concerning the barrier, especially on wind, so as you have in other parts of Europe, there are some restrictions, or some people that they don't want to have wind close to the house, not my backyard. But then can a solution, which is in my opinion intelligent, this waste treatment zone that we have, it's also a part where we are installed the wind turbines. So nobody would like to live close to the waste treatment. So then we can install the turbines. And concerned to this, this region in Norway is the second largest wind farm today.
Okay. Thank you.
And my last very quick question is related to carbon capture and storage. I think a key enabler of the storage part is that Norway is an important oil and gas producer, so you can use the wells already available for the storage. So in this case, having an history on fossil fuels is also an opportunity for carbon capture and storage. Have you any comment on that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Myself, I'm a geologist, so the storage part is important, and I work a lot on this. It's my PhD. But yeah, so it's in Norway, this investment from the government is specifically to, we need to include the storage in the process. No? So therefore, only CCU is not welcome there. So the product that I mentioned, the carbon ocean, and as I said in my presentation, the idea is to that we become a hub, and from this hub there is a ship that is transport the CO2 from the it's a south of Oslo, so from the east part of Norway to the west. So we are in the south of Norway. So in this way, the CO2 that we are capturing can be also transported, can be put in this long ship, and to be transported to the west of Norway and finally to be stored. This is one possibility, but also in the region, actually, we also have a mine. So the future idea is also to do some experiments with some minerals that we have to, because let's say the most effective way to store the CO2 is via mineralization.
Thank you very much, Alessio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. And so now we have, I think we are perfectly on time, since we have already managed to do the question and answer during, let's say, between one presentation and another. So we can move to the last presentation of this session, that is by Tim Britton of the Technical University of Berlin, and will be on the, I'm not sure of pronouncing it correctly, MAESHA project. Please correct me if the pronunciation is not correct.
Tim, you have to unmute yourself. You're muted. You have a button at the bottom of your window. Unfortunately, we cannot do it for you, so you have to do it by yourself. So on the screen that I'm sharing, you see where the button is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, perhaps it was because we were in full screen, so sorry for this. So now you have to share your screen.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you. I'm very sorry for this. I tested the audio before joining. I don't know what the problem is now, but if you can hear me, I'll just start the presentation anyway. And we see how we go, I guess. Okay.
Well, we have your...
Yeah, this is very strange. This has not happened before, but I guess this is the downside of participating online. So if this is fine with you, I will just share my screen. And yeah, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So just to check again, you can hear me, right? I can also, yeah, in the chat, I can see that people can hear me. So I'll just start the presentation. So sorry for this. My name is Tim Britton. I'm a research associate at the Technical University of Berlin, working for the Department of Community Energy and Adaptation to Climate Change. And I'm here to not only represent the Technical University today, but the whole consortium of the MAESHA project. So thank you very much for this opportunity. We very much appreciate that we can participate. So the MAESHA project is about the demonstration of smart and flexible solutions for a decarbonized energy future in Mayotte and other European islands. And as this presentation is part of this workshop, obviously it is about the decarbonizing of islands, but what the project specifically is about, I will let you know in the next few minutes. So to set the stage for diving a little bit deeper into the project, I would like to answer three basic questions. The first two you can see here: what is MAESHA and why this project? So what is MAESHA? MAESHA is obviously about the decarbonization of European islands. It is funded by the Horizon 2020 program with a budget of approximately 12 million euros. And as with some of the other projects we have seen today, the idea is that what we are implementing in one island, we do in such a way that it is replicable and the model can be used in other locations. So the island where the project is implemented is Mayotte. Mayotte is an overseas department of France, and the island is located just north of Madagascar. And why this project? Well, as is true for many islands, many European islands, there is a high dependency on expensive and polluting fossil fuels. And to overcome this dependency, we need a combination of solutions in the form of a smart network. And what we need is we need to provide grid flexibility to be able to integrate a large-scale renewable energy shares. And I promised you three questions. Here's the third: who is involved in MAESHA? MAESHA is composed of 21 partners from 9 countries. You can see all the partners here. In the center of this map, you can see Mayotte. And as I said, Mayotte is the island where we implement the solution in the first place, and all the other islands you can see on this map, all of them are follower islands, where the solution will, or the model will be also applied. So now you have a rough idea of the scope of the project. I would like to go into a little bit more detail about the challenges that exist on European islands and how these challenges are being addressed by MAESHA. So as I said, on many European islands, you have the problem of a high dependency of fossil fuels. In Mayotte, currently about 59% of the electricity comes from fossil fuels, where diesel power plants to be precise. And due to the small energy systems, the power grid is very vulnerable. And often these islands have a very high cost of the electricity that is provided. There's also a low market liquidity in renewable energy systems and products. And what MAESHA is doing, it is enabling a sustainable transition of the energy systems on the island to increase the resilience of the communities. And it is fostering or enabling the integration of local renewable energies. It is providing flexibility options. It is it's providing incentives for prosumers and self-consumption, increasing the energy efficiency of the systems. And what is very important, it is also providing tailored energy markets. We heard this in a previous presentation that these solutions for islands specifically need to be tailored, and energy markets are one dimension of this problem where tailored solutions are required. So to summarize the objectives or the various aspects that I've already named, what MAESHA is doing, it is enabling a large-scale deployment of renewable energy systems. And in order to allow a high share of renewables, we need tailored, innovative flexibility services. And in order to specify what these tailored, innovative flexibility services are, what we do in MAESHA is we study and model local energy systems and the community structures. And as I said, we do all of this in such a way that the solution that is being developed can also be replicated on other islands. And there are 5 follower islands that are part of the MAESHA consortium, who have been part of the project right from the beginning, and where the replicability of the solution will be shown. So I've set the stage now to be able to dive a little bit deeper into the project. So the graph that you here see is quite complex. There's a lot of information in it, but in my opinion, it explains the structure and the content of the project very well. And I would like to walk you through this graph very slowly. So starting at the very bottom, on the left and on the right, you see different kinds of technologies that are being developed for the island, or for the islands to be precise. So these are very different technologies that for the management of the system, or they make use of technologies that already exist. So for example, as part of the project, we are developing virtual power plants, and we are enabling community self-consumption, and so on. So all of these different technologies, they provide some form of flexibility, either short-term or long-term. And these different technologies are organized and managed by a central platform, which we call the Flexibility Management and Trading Platform. And from a technical point of view, you could say that this platform is the centerpiece of the project, as it ensures that this flexibility that is available can actually be utilized. And this platform that we are developing and installing in Mayotte abides obviously to the grid operation rules. And what these rules look like. So I'm at the middle part right now. This is this green block, the grid operation on the islands. What the rules need to look like in order to enable this flexibility management. This specification of of regulatory frameworks and energy markets is also part of the MAESHA project. So their tailored solution is provided. And this is the green part here, so the specification of the market framework alongside modeling. So as part of the project, there are several modeling tools, short term to have a forecast of demand and supply, also long-term tools to look at the development of the energy system on the island from an economic point of view. And all of these solutions that are being developed, this whole package is being supported by local communities in form of a transition board that informs and is involved in the transformation process. So yeah, I've already mentioned that in the project there is a wide variety of technologies that provide flexibility. I don't want to mention all of them in detail, but this slide gives an overview of some of the technologies that are being developed. Perhaps I can name a few. For example, industrial energy management. So local industries are being involved in the project to provide flexibility. Community self-consumption is something I mentioned already, virtual power plants, and also technologies for storages like batteries or power to hydrogen. And with that, I've already come to my last slide. And to finish the presentation, I would like to mention 4 of the main impacts that we foresee. First, a significant reduction of fossil fuel consumption on the islands. Second, creation of local energy communities. Third, enhancement of the stability of the power grid. And fourth, improvement of air quality and the local economy and benefits to society and the environment. And if you would like to learn more about the MAESHA project, you can follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter. And if you would like to contact the department that I work for, I kindly ask you to use this email address. And with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. I would like to thank you very much for listening. And yeah. Oh, cannot hear it. All right. I missed a lot. Let's try this again.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sorry, we had a technical problem, but we could hear you until the end.
Okay, all right. I'm glad.
Sorry.
Thank
For some reason.
Thank you for your presentation. For the last time, I will ask the audience if there are questions. I have a question from Edesio, our colleague here.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. It's an interesting project. Short question. I would see that your ambition is to reach in 2017 to 100% of renewable penetration. You are in the middle of the project. Do you have an idea where are you on this? How much percent?
Okay, I don't know if the question could be listened. The question was, since you have the target to have renewables from 70 to 100%, and you are now in the middle of the project, at what level you are now, if you have any data on this?
So thank you very much for the question and also for repeating it. So the project itself, I mean, Mayotte is a large island with about 250,000 people living there, and actually with probably a similar number of people who are not officially registered. So in the context of the project, we are not decarbonizing the island completely, but what we are doing is providing a platform and the framework to allow for the decarbonization of the island. So in order to, in the short or medium term, integrate more renewable energy technologies, we need to provide these different flexibility technologies in order to enable that the grid still operates in a stable way. So the main aspect is the enabling of the decarbonization, but not actually the installing of sufficient capacities to decarbonize the island within until the end of the project.
Thank you for your answer, Tim. Is there any other question? No. I think, Tim, what you have mentioned now regarding the enabling technologies is also connected to what we were saying before of the key role of, of the public sector and the local authorities, since we cannot expect that investment on enabling technologies, on infrastructural aspects can be implemented only by private stakeholders. So it is really important to get their engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So we have finished all of the presentation. I will go for some concluding remarks. We are perfectly on time. Again, I will take no more, I think, no more than 5 minutes. Just first of all, thanks a lot to all of the speakers that presented this morning. Thanks a lot for all of the attendees, both here in the room and online. I think we have seen this morning that we are on a good pathway toward the energy transition of Ireland. We have a lot of projects. We have a lot of projects focused on technological, on financial aspects, on social and stakeholder-related aspects. And these events are also very important in terms of creating and sharing the knowledge between all of these projects. And it is really important to create this knowledge and disseminating it to the island themselves, since many of these are setting their targets and setting the pathway towards their energy transition, but there are many of them that still need to work on it, and that's why we need to disseminate our results and to promote what we are doing in all of this project. One of the important topics that I have seen in almost all of the projects that have been presented this morning, except for our NESOI, but it is a bit different in our case, the let's say more traditional technological demonstration projects are all working in addition to the technological installation in real demo sites, also on the development of tools. And these tools, IT tools, are really useful for islands that are not working yet on the energy transition, to model their baseline situation, to check which sources, renewable energy sources, which technologies also to make more efficient and decarbonize the demand, the distribution of energy in addition to the production, are most suitable for their case, since, as I have mentioned also in the NESOI part, there is no standardized solution for the energy transition of Ireland, but we need tailored energy planning, and tailored energy planning carried out by this kind of tools is really efficient and has a very high potential to support the island's energy transition. I don't know if you have anything to add to summarize. Maybe I see Adesio looking at me. Please, if you want to come here as you prefer, just for some final discussion and comments, please.
Now, first of all, I have two suggestions. The first, that you should take a picture of us before this. Thanks so much for all presentations, and I could see that we have very common interests, and our pilots are sometimes very similar. And my suggestion for the future there is that you can maybe organize the visit of the pilots, and I will be more than happy to receive you in Norway. So especially for the next year, we have this hydrogen production that is starting. So then a possibility that you share more and they share seeing physically what's happening. It can be interesting. Just a
thank you. It's a very nice and interesting suggestion. In this regard, I would like to mention that in the NESOI project, we are also organizing an Erasmus program who R2M is coordinating, and we will organize for employees of public authorities, of municipality, of islands, the possibility to attend a study tour. We will organize different study tours in different areas of Europe in order to showcase the project, the technical assistance project that we have supported with NESOI, and it will be interesting for them to learn more about this technology, this solution, and their implementation, so to come back home and start planning something similar also for their island. We will have the open call to select the participants to this Erasmus program now in this autumn. We will announce on the website the exact dates the coming weeks. So if anybody is interested, can apply.
Yes. Just to say one more thing without monopolizing the event. I was talking with Luigi that all of us we will have some gaps in the end of our projects. So this idea to meet and to share more is exactly to think the future and to propose new projects to solve our gaps.
Yes, thank you,
thank you
for your contribution. Thanks a lot. Anyone else that wants to comment, to add something? Okay, so we can close the workshop. Thanks a lot for your participation, and for the attendees in person, we have the lunch downstairs. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.